Day trader lost control mode. That is what we're going to talk about, some pros and cons of this strategy within the umbrella of risk management. And that's what day trading, swing trading, anything is all about. You've got to be able to manage that risk. How you manage that risk, well, that's where you start to get into some different opinions. And I want to share with you just what I call lost control mode, walk you through some pros and cons, and no theory. I'm going to be using actual trades to illustrate this to you and then give you something to think about. So my claim is not that, hey, this is how you have to do risk management. My claim is, hey, it works for me, and if you want to consider it and kind of see how things work out, then yeah, maybe take a look at it and give it some consideration. But to give a little bit more context here, not that long ago, I did a video entitled The Ugly Side of Day Trading. And I'll put a link to that down below in the description box. And in that video, you can see, well, this strategy gone wrong. Not necessarily gone wrong, but it just didn't work out. And it is what you open yourself up to within this loss control strategy that you're about to see work out very, very nicely. But in my point is it doesn't always work out, unfortunately, this nicely. There is that con element to it where, yeah, you know what? Sometimes things can get ugly, and that's just part of this strategy and this form of risk management. So again, go check out that video if you want to see when things get ugly.
It's ugly.
And I want to just keep it transparent. I'm not saying that this way of loss control mode always leads to what you're about to see. No. There's an ugly side to it too. And like I said, go watch that video for that. But now let's take a look at one of the pros of it. And this is a dynamic where I think in my mind, and there's data to back it up, which I'll show you later on, but it really kind of just makes things make the most sense for me. And like I said, the data plays out. But let me walk you through a trade, and I want to, get you focused on a couple different numbers, and then you'll see kind of how it worked out and why ultimately it works out best for me. So what I'm doing here is trading some options, and this is nothing to do with options per se. It could be used for any asset class. It just happens to be on options, which, by the way, if you don't know what options are or you want to learn more about them, just comment below option guide and I'll link you to a free class I put together called The Big Basics of Options. But I have just purchased what is known as an option contract. I have one of them, and one of the numbers we're going to want to start to pay attention to is that number right there. It's at 0 right now, but that number will start to fluctuate around, and that's what I want to pay attention to. And also, I have a put contract, meaning for argument's sake, I want to see the price go down. So if the price goes down, that means I will be making money. If the price goes up, that's not good. So let's get this trade going and start to walk through how it all plays out. So you can see right here, that number is flashing, and that's the number that you're ultimately going to want to pay attention to. You can see right now, as I speak, the price is continuing to go up, so not great. And as that bar gets bigger and bigger, that number is going to get bigger and bigger. So at this point, it has now crossed a very, very important level. And that's what risk management is all about. You've got to be able to identify some place where you're like, you know what? I am wrong. And because I am wrong, I now have to manage risk. Now, some people say, therefore, use a hard stop, meaning put in the level, and if it goes, you're just out right then and there. And I do hard stops for certain strategies, and there's nothing wrong with hard stops. But you don't have to necessarily use a hard stop, because what happens a lot of times is if you use a hard stop, you get slippage, and slippage just means that you think you can get out at one price, but you end up getting out at a price way worse. And then it comes back in your favor and you're saying, wow, I took a bigger loss than what I even needed to. But what I'm trying to convey here is that within the umbrella of risk management, no matter what you're doing, we all have a point. We all have a location where it's like, if the price gets to that location, I'm wrong. And I need to now start to manage risk. Whether that's with a hard stop or what you're going to see here with loss control mode, that's going to be up to you. But yes, we are now at that point within the trade where it's reached that area where I got to wave the white flag and say, all right, I am wrong. Therefore, not necessarily hard stop, but I've got to go into loss control mode. So let's continue to see how it plays out. So the way loss control mode works is, I don't want to just hit the bid. I want to try to get off on the offer. So you can see right now, I'm going for, at this point, a $50 loss. But watch that number here. Continue to watch that number. It was up over 200. We are back over 230, 240. Just continue to watch that number there. I don't want to get out on the bid. I do not, right there, 275. It hit 275. So just keep that number in mind, 275. That is a loss that I was looking at, where if I was like, all right, let me just get out now, 275. But again, I'm just looking and saying, you know what? Let's see if this thing wants to come down at all. I'm looking for a risk loss control mode. You can see right there, I'm at 35.50, meaning let's see if I can just keep this a $50 move. But check it out. The price is coming down. I get out, and now all of a sudden, I made $20. Now think about that 275 number you saw. At the peak, I was down 275. But because of loss control mode and because I was saying, okay, let's not try to panic out right here. Let's give it a little bit more wiggle room. It ended up, penny saved, penny earned, turning into a $295 win. How so again? Well, instead of losing $275, I got back to break even plus $20. So that was a $295 swing in my favor because I didn't just panic out. I didn't, let some sort of, slippage hit me. I just said, you know what, let's try to work it down. And I was going for a $50 loss at first, but then watching, I canceled it out and was just watching. But then I got an absolute gift. You can see that price really came down, which allowed me to actually get $20. And that's definitely a pro. But should you always expect this to happen with loss control mode? No. Just like if you go and watch that video talking about things getting ugly, you shouldn't always expect things to get that ugly. So what I like about these two videos, these two trades, is we have both extremes. What you just saw was definitely an extreme in the positive side. Like, wow, you're looking at a rough loss, but then you ended up making $20 because the price moved that fast in your favor. If only it always worked that way. So that's one extreme. And then the other extreme would be in the video where if you go and watch that, you'll just see nothing went right. It just wasn't very good. But the key thing here is that the vast majority of the time, you're not going to have extremes. And loss control mode is going to be leading to $20, $30, $40, $50 losses. Maybe a $70, maybe a $100 loss here and there. And for those of you that have watched my live trade videos, I mean, you've seen that over and over again. A lot of times, you still walk away with a little $10 win. Now, do things get that extreme against you before giving you 10? It doesn't get that extreme, but there are situations where if I just used a hard stop, there are multiple situations where, boom, all right, that would have been a $50, $100 loss. But then by just giving it a little bit more wiggle room, loss control mode, meaning I'm no longer going for my main gain, but just trying not to lose, just trying not to panic out with a hard stop, I ended up making $10, $20. Again, many situations where you can go back, watch the live trade videos, a playlist that I have. So if you like the little clip here, I mean, there's a playlist of hundreds of videos where you can watch and see this. But you'll see, oh, okay, yeah, I had a hard stop. Instead of losing 100, I made 10. So that's a $110 swing. Instead of losing 50, I made 30. Instead of losing 80, I lost 10. And you see that, okay, a lot of times the price will at least come back down and it's not going to just continually go against you. But that doesn't mean that it won't happen, which again is if you go and watch the ugly video, you'll see, yeah, that was one of those where it never really came down enough. And in hindsight, I play the game of, I should have just gotten out at $100 because that video, yeah, the $100 loss would have been much better. But there are the opposite side, like you just saw here, where if you don't panic out, you can get those big swings back in your favor. And ultimately, the numbers work out. For me and the way I'm using it with this options, the numbers do work out in your favor. So I'm not saying this is the way you should approach this, but it is something for you to consider. And just to offer up a little bit more data if you're interested, I'll put a link down below to this video where I go over 500 trades. So in that video, 509 to be exact trades of what you just saw here. And you'll see that more of the statistics if you're interested in that. If you think that this is, because I understand, well, what happens if the price keeps going and going against you? Well, eventually, yeah, I'll just get out. I'll just hit the bid and hop out. And that's, again, what you'll see in that ugly video. But most times the price just, it's not going to be that spazzy. So if you have the hard stop, it just takes advantage of you. It gets you a slippage and then the price goes in your favor and you're thinking, what? If I'd have just waited, I could have had at least a break even, if not a much smaller loss than what I got because of that hard stop just snapped me out. So there is a time and place for everything though. Hard stops, I'm not saying are always wrong. I'm just saying in my experience and what the data is showing, is that the hard stops, especially with the options and what I'm trading here, can be a little bit of a gray area, which is why data is important, which is why I'd encourage you to go check out that video. But yes, everything's got a pro and a con. And when it comes to loss control mode, you just saw one of the great movements here where, yeah, essentially a $295 trade in my favor. And then other times doesn't quite work out that way. But overall, it seems to be where it stays more so in a more manageable way. So like I said, you got to ultimately figure out what you feel most comfortable with, but I did want to give you both pros and cons of what I call day trader loss control mode. If you have any questions or anything like that, leave those down in the comment section below, and I hope this video helped. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.